Hello, Blood Bowl fans. Excuse me, that was a bad time to cough. My apologies. I'm going to be having a look at the Open Invitational again today, both live and for you guys who've just joined on YouTube. I have actually cut the music for you on YouTube as well. I'll try and keep doing that so you don't have to watch it for 2 minutes. But if you're watching live, then it's a way of letting you come in, basically. We're going to have a look at the Open Invitational, and I'm also going to make a short but relatively important announcement here at the same time, and it doesn't look like the live thing is working. Interesting. Hopefully it is, though. No, I don't know. That's a bit weird. Sorry, my internet is playing up a bit, so I hope I am live and I hope you're not having any problems seeing this. Anyway, announcement first of all. So, basically, I've created a new ladder system, and it's going to be a rolling ladder system that basically runs for, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks before a competition. Then I will close it and reset the ladder before the next competition. The way it will work, basically, is if you are thinking about, or if you've already signed up, or if you just want to have some fun, if you're thinking about signing up to a specific competition that we're running, you can basically practice the rules in this ladder, and I'll always open it, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks before the official kickoff of a competition. So this is going to be open right now. It's called the Pre-Season Ladder. You can find it by, let me show you actually very quickly, because I don't do this often enough, and I really probably should. I'm on my second account as well, in case you're wondering about the weird teams, etc. So, to join this ladder, or to join any ladder for that matter, if you go into the multiplayer for your team sign-up settings, and I think we're on page 3 still. We're actually at the end of page 3. If you register on the AD English Invitational, looks like this, you can see the free open ladders that are available. This is the one that will be for the practice section before each league. If you register for this, you will basically send me a notification that you want to join, and if you are part of the league and I know who you are, I will automatically accept. If you're new to the league and you're coming through Steam, etc., just make sure you tell me or one of the admin on our Discord page who you are so we know to accept you as well, because we don't let anybody in, but we do allow anybody who is part of the setup and part of our team, basically. So if you are on our Discord, if you are part of the AD Invitational, you're of course welcome to take part. And I'm just going to reset Twitch quickly because it doesn't seem to be working the way it should be. 1 second. Technical problems. Fun. Right, that looks potentially better. Still says I'm offline, but whatever. Okay. Well, if I'm offline, fine. Then it's going to be just a YouTube video. I can't be bothered trying to fix this. So, in terms of the pre-season ladder this time round, it's going to, of course, be for the Open Invitational, and it is open right now. If you want to join the Open ladder, then you can build any of the teams that are allowed within the competition in the custom style, or of course you can take any of the standard teams and add it to the ladder as well, and you can play either as one of the teams you want to test, or indeed against the teams to see how powerful these new mixed teams are for your standard teams. Of course, the team that you have in the ladder will not be the team that you have in the competition. They will be completely separate, but you're welcome to try as many different teams as you want in this setup. You can have full roster of teams in there if you want to, and I'm not going to say no. Maybe, I mean, I would like to give some kind of prize to the people who do best in these pre-season warm-ups, but at the moment that's not in the works, but maybe in the future it will be. So in terms of the Open, especially right now, you're free to test any of the teams that you can possibly make or that you want to make in this ladder as we speak. So anything you want to do like that, you can, and I may even add my own things to it if I possibly can as well. Okay, right, there's that. I'm just going to close Twitch because it doesn't seem to be working, so forget Twitch. Okay, if you are on Twitch and you're asking questions, I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring you, just it doesn't seem to be working for me at the moment. So the second part of this video is going to be talking about, looking at actually, sorry, the other, not the other, all of the team options in the mixed version, the mixed variety in the rule list as it stands. So this is Afterlife United, Union of Small People, Superior Being Ring, Alliance of Goodness, Human League, Anti-Fair Society, Elfic Grand Coalition, Fiery Society, Chaotic Player Pact, Chaos God Selection, and Violence Together. I appreciate that this competition type is a little bit difficult to understand. I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate as well that you may have some questions, and hopefully I can answer a few of them. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get your actual questions, which I was hoping for. I will check Discord in and out though, so if you are watching me live and you are trying to ask me a question, please ask me on Discord so I can actually see the question as it is. But I'm going to build teams under the way they are and go through the rules as they are written, basically. So let's go through the basics again, first of all, so we know. I have all the teams here ready to go, of course. And I will say as well that I've made every team already with 2 rerolls, because I personally wouldn't make a team without 2 rerolls. That's just my personal preference. So each of those teams are going to be starting with 2 rerolls, but of course you don't have to. So the mixed team basics, and I'm looking at the sheet that I have linked in my channel, regardless if you are there. It will be linked in the YouTube description as well. Mixed team basics, 16 max roster as usual, of course, though you won't be able to afford it starting off most of the time. Teams will be limited to a fairly standard team build, so like humans, like orcs, like dwarfs, etc., but with a mixed flavor. Future balance changes may be made in future seasons, but existing teams will not be forced to fire players to meet the updates. Each team must have a minimum of 3 linemen with general access only. Elf linemen of any flavors or stunties are an exception to this and can also be used. These linemen may be on the bench, but they must be in the team. When rostering big guys beyond 1, where applicable, a stunty with right stuff must be bought as well at a minimum ratio 1:1. So to clarify this, because I get asked this a lot, you can buy 1 big guy for free and you don't need a stunty with him. So you can buy an ogre, you can buy a crocs, you can buy a treeman, whatever, first, and you do not need to roster a stunty. However, any big guy that you add onto that, you have to have a stunty as well for each one that you add. These stunties can be on the bench, and they can take over the lineman limit, but they must be in the team. If a required team piece dies and cannot be replaced due to lack of funds, the replacement must be bought at the next opportunity. Injured required pieces cannot be fired unless a replacement can be bought. Okay, and there are specific team rules for each individual team, but there are 3 basic rules, unless otherwise stated, that do apply. You can have maximum of 4 blitzers on a team, maximum of 4 catchers or runners, and maximum of 2 throwers. Okay, so that's all of the basics. Now, let's have a look at actually building a team, and I'm going to work backwards, basically, because the strongest teams are Alliance of Goodness, Chaos Player Pact, and what's the other one? And Superior Being Ring. These 3 are what we consider to be the top leagues, top teams out of these. So I'm going to do them last, probably. I'm going to work kind of backwards. And I'm going to actually start with the order that I've put them in, and the one at the end here is the Anti-Fair Society. The reason I'm going to start with this one is because it's a bit of a weird one. It doesn't seem to follow any sensible build. I mean, it's not a bash team, it's not an agility team, I wouldn't even call it a hybrid team. It's completely its own thing, and you can do quite a few. You can make quite a few varieties from it. As you can see, I am sitting at team value 850 because I have taken 2 rerolls. Let's have a look at what we got here then. So we have any general access lineman in this team, and we need to have 3 of them. So we can take a Kislev lineman, though he's probably not the best option. We can take a Norse lineman. We can take an Amazon linewoman. We can take a Skink, because he's a stunty, and he's an exception to the rule. And they're basically our options. Now, for my own personal, my own personal taste, I am going to take 3 Norse linemen. So there we go. I've made up the minimum requirements for this team. I've got the 3 pieces that I have to buy, and my own personal minimums as well. I've got the 2 team rerolls. Now we'll have a look at the rest. So let's find Anti-Fur Society in the list. So we can have one big guy if we want to. I'm not personally going to have one, but we can have a Yeti, a Kroxigor, or a Tame Bear. We can only have the one. In fact, I will have one, just for the sake of keeping a strong front line. I'm going to take the Kroxigor because I think he's the best option. I'm not naming pieces or anything, just building the teams for the fun of it here. Okay, and then there are no specific rules telling us about counts, so we can assume that we have maximum 4 blitzers, maximum 4 catchers, and maximum 2 runners as positionals. I've already got 4 pieces, so I'm looking to make a roster of 11. Now, what counts as specific pieces? Ulferina, Berserker, and Saurus all count as blitzer choice. Okay, so I can't have more than 4 of them. So let's start off with my 4 blitzers, because they're 4 things that I'm definitely going to want. And I think having at least one Saurus makes perfect sense to me. I also would like to have 2 Amazon blitzers, because I think they are the strongest starting piece in this roster. Now, I can take an Ulf, a Berserker, a Kislev blitzer, another Saurus, of course, or another Amazon blitzer. I personally like the sound of a Berserker in this team, so let's add a Berserker, and we've filled up our blitzer roster. We can also have up to 4 catchers or runners, so that includes the Kislev runner, that includes the catcher from the Amazon team, and it includes the catcher from the Kislev team. I only want the one catcher, and I want a cheap catcher, so I'm going to take a cheap but useful catcher. I'm going to take a Kislev catcher. There's that. We can also have 2 throwers, so this thrower, Amazon thrower, and I think that's it, yes. Though I don't want one, so that's fine. Now, I've still got 2 pieces to make up. That's a shame, and I've got 160 left in the bank. I may actually take a thrower on second thought then, and I prefer one that has dodge. So let's take the Amazon thrower, and one more catcher to finish off this team then. Let's take an Amazon catcher as well. Okay, I built a team that is completely legal in this setup, and it is obviously kind of mixed, mostly a mix of Norse and Amazon, though I do have 1 Kislev and I do have 2 lizards. But it doesn't really look any different than a standard team, and I don't think this is a particularly good team. I don't think Anti-Fur Society can be a particularly good starting team. It can build into something interesting, but starting off it's one of the weaker rosters out of the mixed lot. But that's basically what you can do. Now every time you're looking at these lists, this is basically what you need to do if you want to create these teams, is have a look at what the restrictions are. Start with the basic restrictions and then have a look at specific restrictions if you feel the need after that. I personally felt the need, so I had a look at each one just to show how it works. But as a legal team, that team works. It's not the worst team in the world, it's not the best team in the world. I still have 20k, so I could even better spend my cash, may even replace one of the Amazon blitzers for a second Saurus to give me a little bit of strength. Let's try that actually, because I don't like the way the team looks at the moment. So get rid of her. That'll actually give me an extra 30 when I think about it. That's fine. And take another Saurus. I didn't want to take a big guy, that's the thing. I was going to go for a roster of 12 and include a skink, as opposed to taking a big guy, but there we go, we've got that. And for now I'm going to leave that team as it is. That team is fine. So, Anti-Fur Society, there they are. They kind of suck, but they'll do. Now, let's have a look at the Chaos Gods next, because that's probably the easiest of the roster. Now, it's also one of the weirdest of the rosters because it doesn't follow the basic rules. Because the Chaos God selection don't actually have a general access only lineman, but they only have 2 lineman choices. Both lineman choices are legal, so you can have 3 Beastmen or you can have 3 Rotters in the roster, and that is actually mentioned in the rules specifically for the Chaos God selection. So about this team, we can have just the one big guy, so the Beast of Nurgle or the Minotaur. I don't want either in this team for certain. And we can have 4 warriors, so we can't have all 8 warriors. Pestigor is basically separate. They work as they can be rostered. start with though, we need the 3 basic guys, of course, and I'm actually going to take 3 beastmen, because I'm not a big fan of rotters. I can also have up to 4 warriors, so let's have a look at that. Now, I get the extra foul appearance and disturbing presence with Nurgle Warrior, of course. With Chaos Warrior, I don't actually get anything, so the Nurgle Warrior, as far as I'm concerned, is the more logical choice, but he is more expensive. So I'm going to go for 3 of him, and I'll take a Chaos Warrior as well, just to save me the 10k. And I can have as many Pesticles as I want, but I don't want to overdo the price, so I'm going to actually take 2 Pesticles in this team, and then 110 left. I can have 1 Beast, 1 Rotter, and sorry, I didn't mean to click on him, just to even it out, and I've still got 10k in the bank if I want it. I see an argument for the Beast of Nurgle, but the problem with the Beast of Nurgle is that I can't take as many maneuvering positionals. I've got the Warriors as the strength pieces, of course, and the 2 Pesticles count as the agility. And because we can have Beastmen or Nurgle Rotters as linemen here, I mean, the Beastmen have general strength and mutation access, so they're probably the best linemen in all of the rosters long term. But the Rotter, of course, is cheaper and also has mutation access. But the decay is just too much for me to ignore, really, while thinking about rostering Rotters. So there's that team. What else can we do in here then? Let's move on to the shorties, I guess. The Union of Small People. Now again, these are a bit of a specific team because they follow both that they have to have the 3 lineman rule. Why do they only have 1 team reroll? There they go. They have 2 now. They can only, of course, have the 1 lineman rule. Sorry, they still have to have the 3 lineman rule, but they can have any stunty as a lineman, and they also have to follow the big guy rules. So looking at Union of Small People then, we can have up to 6 combination of Ogre and Trolls, or 2 Treemen and 2 Ogre Trolls. Now, important thing when looking at these limits, they are limits, they're not targets. So if, for example, I take 2 Treemen and an Ogre, I'm still in the 4 category. Or if I take, for example, 4 Ogres, then I don't get to take a tree as well, because I'm breaking the rules by doing that. So even though I'm not hitting the exact maximum, I'm still using one of these 2 settings, one of these 2 options, I should say. Now, in terms of this team, I want to basically make a better halfling team. That's the hope. And the way to make a better halfling team, of course, is to start with trees. And I'm actually going to give an Ogre support as well, so I start with 3 rostered big guys, but I don't think I want more big guys at the moment, though I may take a troll as well. We'll think about it in a second. And in terms of weapons, etc., they're all rostered as usual, so I'm definitely going to take the Pogor because he's the best stunty in all of the settings, but he doesn't count as a lineman. He's an extra piece, so I still need the 3 basic linemen. I think goblins are the best option out of the lot, though I do like Gnoblars. Now, I've got 3 big guys, I've got 3 stunties, so I can actually take the last big guy, and I think I can afford him, so let's take a troll as well, actually, which means I need 1 more stunty. Let's take a halfling for flavor, and I've still got 170k left. I'm actually going to take the Fanatic, and then I'm going to fill up the rest with Gnoblars, just so I have a fairly sizable bench. There we go. Big team. 15. Of course, second option is that you can min-max the team, but the problem with the Union of Small People is that you don't get star players. So there's no deep root in this team, no matter what you do, and there's no Morg, there's no what's the combination of the Ogre and the Troll, etc. There's not even Puggy, so it's important actually to have the numbers in this team, whereas in most stunty teams I would be looking to min-max the team and make the best use of stars, chefs, etc. I'm pretty sure the chef as well is also 300k 300k as usual. I don't think it has the price drop, so you need to be at least 300k in deficit to get it. So I don't think it's worth rostering for that likelihood, because it's not very likely. So there's that team. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because it'll take too long, but I'm going to have a look at a couple more when I'm here. I'm going to have a look at the top three, and I'm also going to have a look at the elves, because the elves are separate and I hate elves, so that's a good reason to look at them. Now, where are the elves? Let's do them now. There they are. Elfic Grand Coalition. Of course, these fall into the second category where they don't actually have a general access only lineman. All of the elves have agility access. So, of course, all of the elves are options as linemen. You have to have 3 of them. So in order to keep price down, I'm going to go for 3 Union linemen. Now, what else does the Elfic Grand Coalition say? Because this is actually an exception to the basic build. So I can have 8 positionals total, and those 8 positionals still follow the 442 category. But I can't have all 10 of them, I can only have 8 of them. And I can have maximum 2 War Dancers or Witches with 2 Blitzers or 4 Blitzers. Now, I want War Dancers in the team, so I don't really want a Witch Elf, to be honest, because I don't think she's that good, compared to the War Dancer anyway. I think the War Dancer is the obvious choice. And I also want 2 Blitzers with him, so I'm actually going to take both of the Union Blitzers. That leaves me with 260k, and I've still got 4 pieces to fill, which is a lot. I don't think I can afford all this actually, but I'll see what I can afford. Now I can still have up to 4 positionals, 4 catchers potentially, or 2 catchers, 2 throwers, or 1 catcher, 3 catchers, 1 thrower, of course. And I kind of do want a thrower, to be honest. I want a high elf thrower because it's a useful piece. And 170k in the bank, so already I can't afford what I'm going for. Okay then. I'm going to make an exception with this team, and I'm going to drop to 1 reroll, just so I can fill out the team. Not a big fan of the 1 reroll, but I think it's necessary here. Now, I don't actually think I can do anything but add linemen to the team now, so let's do that. And I'm going to stick with the Union linemen because I will want to replace them eventually. No, actually, I can afford 1 catcher, so let's change that. Let's get rid of 1 of these linemen that look like a goblin for a second for some reason. And let's add a catcher, and we'll go for the Wood Elf catcher, because I think he's the best catcher out of all the elf choices. And there we go. We've got an 11-man roster as well. We've managed to fill in all the blitzers and a thrower and a catcher with just the 1 reroll, but still, we've got 11 pieces with almost all of our positionals already in place. We can add 2 more. The Treeman, of course, is included as a positional, as well as is the Dark Elf Assassin. So if you want to add them to the team, then they still count to the 8 maximum, and they are basically separate positionals. They don't fall into the category of blitzer, catcher, or thrower. So the elf team is kind of a separate system altogether, actually. And I don't know, obviously I'm not optimizing the teams, but I'm trying to build what I can relatively quickly for each team. If I think about it a bit more, maybe I'll come up with something better. I don't know. And I did want to have a look at the 3 top teams, so let's have a look at them as well. Actually, I am going to look at Afterlife United as well, because Afterlife United has caused a lot of confusion. So having a look at Afterlife United as its rule set, you can have up to 4 Vampire, Tomb Guard, or Golem combination, or 2 mummies, or 1 mummy and 1 of the 4 choice. Now, to be completely clear here, if you have 3 Tomb Guards and you don't buy a 4th, you've still taken the 4 option, you just haven't filled it out. That means that you are still in the if one of the above options is taken category. And the rule states here, if one of the above options is taken, then only 2 blitzers may be rostered. So if I have any combination of big guys basically, I can only have 2 blitzers in the team. That's basically how Afterlife United works. Ghouls count as thrower, werewolf, Blitzra, and white count as blitzer. Alright, let's try and build this team then. Starting with the 3 linemen. And because it's me, not because I think it's sensible, I'm going to take 3 skeletons. Because why wouldn't I? Alright then, I don't know why I clicked OK. Now I can have up to 4 big guys, or I can have 2 mummies, and to be honest, I think 2 mummies is the better option, so I'm going to go for 2 mummies. Mummy, mummy. And I can have 2 blitzers with that, and I think there's only one choice of blitzer, even though he doesn't have block, and that is the werewolf. That still leaves me with 260. Now, thrower is a thrower option, ghoul is a ghoul option. No, ghoul is a thrower option as well. A ghoul option, funny. So you can have basically 2 of ghoul or thrower. That's not stating that ghoul can throw, by the way, it's just for balance purposes. And I think I actually will add a ghoul to this team, which is probably heresy to guys who know me. But I kind of like the idea of having speed in this team at the moment. Thinking about the build, we've got the 2 werewolves, we've got the 2 mummies, and we've got a load of skeletons. And then we'll have just basically some meat in this team as well. And I think the best stats actually is the Thrall because of his movement allowance. So we'll have 3 Thralls in the team, and I still have 70k, which could be another ghoul. Or it could be a thrower, but I think the agility 3 is more useful than the sure hands, so I'm going to take a second ghoul actually. And there we go, we've got an Afterlife United team. So the important thing is that basically if you take a big guy, a pseudo big guy, I know in Afterlife United, but Mummy, Tomb Guard, whatever, then you have opted for big guys and you are limited to 2 blitzers. And the reason we rostered it that way basically is because they can build into something relatively disgusting if you do take 4 blitzers plus 2 big guys, whichever 2 big guys you get. Because basically the first level up for a big guy, even if it's not a mummy, is going to be Mighty Blow for most people. And you're going to basically have too much dominance in the undead team, especially if you have 2 wolves, 2 whites, 2 mummies, for example. Not 2 mummies, 2 guards, for example. So any big guy that you take, you have opted for a big guy option. Just keep that in mind. Alright then, and the top 3 then. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to go through the top 3 teams and see what we can build. Especially Superior being Ring, because it's kind of, I think it's overlooked as a top tier, and it's kind of important. So we still have the 3 linemen, of course, that we need to buy. We'll have a look at that in a minute, but what do the rules state here? So we can have 4 catchers, Brett Blitzers, or Vampires. They basically count as the catch choice. Chaos Dwarf Blocker counts as Blitzer, not a lineman, because of the strength and mutation access, so you can only have 4 of them, maximum. And you can either have a Minotaur and a Bull Centaur, or you can have the 2 Bull Centaurs. So the Bulls basically count as big guys in this roster. Right then, what do we want to do with this team? That's a question, isn't it? First of all, we need the 4 linemen, and I should mention as well that the Bretonnian blockers are basically a separate choice. So you can actually have 4. You can technically, by the end, have 4 blitzers, 4 catchers, and 4 blockers. That's an option. But you still need to keep the 3 linemen in the team, regardless, and the blockers don't make that up. What lineman do I want? I think I'm going to go Thrall again. Though I may actually go for... No, I think Thrall. Because they're cheap, and they're interchangeable with Hobgoblins, to be honest, but if I want a vampire, I can have it. Right, this team is a little bit difficult to build, so I'm going to go back and forth between the rule set and the team build here. I'm not entirely sure I definitely don't want a Minotaur. I'm not entirely sure that I want a Bull Centaur though, so I'll actually leave him until the final decision. Let's go for the blitzers first then. So we can have up to 4 blitzers, but a blitzer counts as a catcher in the Bretonnian team. Do I want a high elf blitzer? I don't think so. And that's the only other blitzer. So I will actually go for the 4 dwarfs. Sorted. And now I can have up to 4 catchers, blitzers, or vampires. And I think Hypnotic Gaze actually can be incredibly useful, even with the Bloodlust opportunity, and also regen can help a lot. So I will take 1 vampire. And I don't really want a high elf catcher, because I don't think it's a good choice here, so I will actually take the, if I can afford them, which I can, the 3 blitzers as well. And I still have room for 1 more piece, so there we go. We're not taking the big guy then, definitely, in my own personal setup. I am kind of tempted to take a Hobgoblin just for the flavor purposes, so let's take a Hobgoblin instead of a Thrall as the last piece. And the Hobgoblin basically can be my dirty player piece in this particular team. So there we go. It's actually a pretty strong team even as it starts off. So I've got 4 dwarfs and 4 Bretonnian blitzers, 3 Bretonnian blitzers with a vampire, which is just amazing starting off, and long term can create all kinds of chaos. So these are definitely a tier 1 team. Is this broken is the question, and I don't think it is, but I'm still open to comments about this being broken and potential reasons why. Keep in mind that blitzers do not have strength access, and that is why they are down as a catcher in most builds, not down as a blitzer choice. The worst combination, of course, is dwarfs and these blitzers together, which is very dangerous, but I don't really see them as considerably better than the top tier 1 teams. They are just different. So that's where I stand on that personally, but I'm willing to hear your arguments for the opposites. But that is the team I've created. That is the team that I think I would stick with. I think that's probably the best I can create with the money starting off. Hobgoblin notwithstanding, but he's basically just an extra. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that build. Now the other 2 strongest teams, I'm going to finish with AOG, because AOG I think is by far the strongest. And we're going to go for the Chaotic Pact, Chaotic Player Pact, there they are. So having a look at the Chaotic Player Pact then, and how it stands on its own. Still need the 3 minimum roster pieces. Importantly, Beastman does not count as a lineman in this team, because he's not general access only. He's also specifically mentioned. The same with a Rotter, by the way. A Rotter does not count. Let me just check that, I may be wrong. Yep, we don't have Rotter as a lino choice, so a Rotter basically is a separate positional in this team. So keep that in mind as well. I'm questioning my own decision on that, to be honest, but I think I'm going to stick with it for now, though I may change my mind about that. Rotters may be allowed as a line-up choice, though to be honest I don't think they'll be picked anyway, so it kind of feels like a non-problem for me at the moment. So CPP, I can have 1 big guy. Righto. What are the big guy choices? We have Minotaur, Rat Ogre, or... oh, there's a few actually. No, that's it, or Warpstone Troll. So Minotaur, Rat Ogre, or Warpstone Troll. Any of these on their own as 1. Okay. Dark Elf Runner counts as a thrower in this team, not as a catcher. Beastman and Chaos Warrior count as blitzer option. And there are 3 potential builds here. Right. You can have 4 blitzers plus 2 Witch Elves or Gutter Runners, 4 Witch Elf or Gutter Runner plus 2 blitzers, or 4 Chaos Warriors and 4 other blitzers with no Gutter Runner or Witch Elf. So you can still build a alternate Chaos team, basically, or a Chaos team as it is, basically. But you need to drop the Gutter Runner or Witch Elf, or you can have the standard Skaven team or the standard Dark Elf team using any of these combinations. in different varieties. That's basically how it looks. What are our lineman options? We've got Skaven lineman, which is probably a good choice because it's quite cheap. Dark Elf lineman, which is a better piece. Underworld Goblin, and I think we haven't actually included the Underworld Skaven lineman because he has mutation access, right. So our options are Skaven lineman, Underworld Goblin, or Dark Elf lineman. This team is going to get expensive, so I'm going to go for free Skaven starting off. Awesome. And I think I personally prefer the strength option, but I'm going to build an agility style team here. So I'm actually going to go for 4 gutter runners. Again, I can't take a witch elf over a gutter runner. It's just I don't see the point. That means I get up to 2 blitzer options, and I personally don't think the Chaos Warrior is the best choice as a blitzer here. I prefer the Storm Vermin options because of the early access block and the quicker development cycle. Having said that though, a Dark Elf blitzer is also an option for the same reason. And the easy access to agility might help with the agility style team, though I do prefer the strength access. So I will go for 1 Skaven blitzer and 1 Underworld blitzer because they have mutation access. 230 left in the bank, and I've basically filled up, though I can take a thrower. So I will. I'll take a Skaven thrower because the Dark Elf runner is crap. And now basically I only have lineman options, or I can take Skaven lineman as a separate option, and Rotters aren't even in the team, so forget everything I said about Rotters. I forgot they weren't part of the build. The Skaven lineman was the point of contention. So the mutation access Skaven lineman may be a relatively decent choice actually as the filler. The other option of course is the Dark Elf lineman. I don't want a Goblin, I don't want a big guy, so I'm actually going to add 2 Dark Elves. I'm going to have a roster of 12 in this team. Now, I can understand the argument for taking Chaos Warriors over the Skaven Storm Vermin, but I think just the ability to basically level a lot quicker is much more valuable to me personally. So I don't think there's a choice between Storm Vermin and Chaos Warrior in my own mind, or the Skaven Blitzer. So yeah, there are many options in this team though, many options. And for example, even if I went for the 4 big guy team, I could go 4 Chaos Warriors and 4 Skaven Storm Vermin. And man, that would be fun. That would be all kinds of new options in terms of murder teams. I actually am quite interested in that. Let's build that very quickly. I'm losing my voice, sorry. I prefer the team as it is, but let's just build the Chaos Warrior build instead and see what it looks like just quickly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't quite afford the last one actually, but I can if I drop one of the Skaven and replace him for a Goblin. So let's do that. Am I right in thinking that actually? I'm at the 90k, not 70. Losing my mind. Though I'm missing this piece, which is also 90. Okay. That doesn't matter then. So let's take the 2 linemen back instead. Where's that Goblin? Go away, Goblin. Oh, that's an option. Could take a Beastman as my 4th blitzer. Alright, we'll take a Beastman as the 4th blitzer for now instead. There we go. So we got a Beastman, 3 Storm Vermin, sorry, and all the warriors. There we go. That's our bash heavy version, our murder heavy version. We have Skaven linemen. They'll die, but whatever. Who needs them? It'll be, of course, a much slower development cycle for this team, though, as opposed to the speedy gutter runner plus blitzer option. I'll remake the team as I want to later. And the last team, probably the strongest team, and the one that caused the most discussion in the board, that's the Alliance of Goodness. Now, same thing. Why is or Death Roller in brackets? I suppose it's a weapon. Never mind, whatever. So, same thing, of course, we still have to take the free lineman option, and if we didn't limit the lineman options, this team would be way too strong, basically. But we have limited the lineman options quite significantly. You can have up to one big guy, that includes the Death Roller. So having a look at the big guy options in this team, we've got the Human Ogre, the Dwarf Death Roller, and the Treeman in the Halfling team, and the Treeman in the Wood Elf team. So you can only have one, basically. It's kind of important. I personally think the best big guy is the Halfling Tree, because he doesn't have Loner, and he's a tree. But to be honest, I'm not sure I want a big guy in this team, so I'm going to leave that alone for a minute. The Dwarf Runner counts as a thrower, so you can have up to 2 of them, including Dwarf Runner and 1 more thrower. A Longbeard, a Troll Slayer, a Brett Blocker, and all varieties of Blitzer count as Blitzer. This I'm intrigued now. I didn't think we made it that way. I'm confused by that. Ah, it's the Human League where the Brett Blitzer can catch in. Never mind. So the Brett Blitzer is also a Blitzer in this team as well. So he's actually a Blitzer piece in the Alliance of Goodness, because he's too good, basically, in this setup to be a catcher. That's the main problem. So I'm confusing it with Human League there. In Human League, the Bretonnian Blitzer is a catcher, as he is in Superior Being Ring, actually. But in the Alliance of Goodness, he counts as a Blitz choice. So that's where that stands. Now, in terms of Blitzers, we can have 2 War Dancers. Yeah, we can have 2 War Dancers on their own. We can have 1 War Dancer plus 2 Blitzers, or we can have 4 Blitzers. That's a little bit confusing, but that's fine. I think I want the War Dancer, but we'll come to that in a second. Let's start with our lineman. I'm pretty sure the human lineman is going to be my choice, though I'm just checking to see the other options. Having said that, the Bretonnian lineman is cheaper, so we'll stick with the Bretonnian lineman for now. We can always replace him later. Okay, there's our lineman option. Now then, we have the Blitzer choices, and I think the War Dancer is the best choice. I may actually go 1 and 2, because I think that will give me a little bit more variety and ability to cause problems. I may even go a Longbeard in this situation. God, there are lots of options in this team. I do want 1 Bretonnian Blitzer at least. So we want 1 Bretonnian Blitzer and War Dancer, plus 1 more Blitzer, and I think it's going to be a Dwarf Lineman. So let's take that for now. A Longbeard, I should say. There's the Blitzer choice. We've got the War Dancer plus 2 Blitzer option, of course. We can have up to 4 catches. I don't know if I want 4 catches, but we'll see what we can do with that. Definitely want a Wood Elf catcher, at least the 1. I think I'm going to take 2. I think the Wood Elf catcher is superior to the human catcher, but the human catcher does have the extra agility. The extra armor value, I mean, not the agility. But I just think the catcher's extra agility on the Wood Elf team is much more superior than the armor value, so I'm going to stick with that. And then I've still got 3 spaces to fill up. Wow. This team is tricky. I really don't think I want to throw it, but if I do want to throw it, it's going to be a human one. So let's put the human one in there for now. We'll also take the big guy, why not? And then we've got 110 left. To be honest, I probably will replace the free... I will replace the free Bretonnians for free humans and see what we have after that. This team requires some thought. Sorry, I didn't really look at these before I decided to record. I just decided to go with what I have in front of me and show you how it looks. So there's the lineman. We still got 80k, and we still actually got to fill in one piece, sorry. So let's have a bench with 2 linos. Or should we have one more catcher? No, let's take one more catcher. He's 90. Is the human catcher cheaper? I don't remember. Yeah, we'll take the human catcher for the cheap value then. There we go, there's a team. I can almost definitely make a better team than that, but there's a team made very quickly to highlight that one. So I don't know, any further questions you have about this, please do keep talking about it in the open invitational part of the Discord channel. Please do keep asking questions to me personally if you need to when you're building your teams. And by all means check if your teams are legal, because the rules are confusing. I understand they are confusing, but they are well thought out, and of course they had to be detailed, and that's why they're confusing. So I think the confusion is actually a positive thing. And it's been said to me by one of my admin team, and I completely agree. The fact that you can't build exactly what team you want to out of these mixed teams is proof that the balance works, basically. The fact that you can't have the really strong team that you want to build is proof that it works, because the really strong mixed teams are stronger than the strongest of standard teams. So that's why they are limited the way they are. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If I am still live, I really don't understand if I am, then thank you for that. If I'm not still live, then no problem. But if you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.